Hi, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Bloody Wilderness here. So, yesterday I made a video about panhandling and what I really would like to call an aggressive panhandler. And as we have more and more people that are on the streets right now, I wanted to see if I could gain a little insight on what the definition of a panhandler is and what kind of laws there are and how we can protect ourselves. So I'm going to try and keep this video a little bit shorter than the other one. Anyway, so the first thing that I looked up was it's called Panhandling Laws, the First Amendment Encyclopedia. And it says that panhandling is a form of solicitation or begging derived from the impression created by someone holding out his hand or hers to beg, using a container to collect money. And that when municipalities regulate panhandling, a form of speech, which I did not know that, First Amendment rights become an issue. Supporters of panhandling regulation contend it is a safety measure designed to protect people from harassment and other crimes, and that opponents of such regulation contend it is blatant suppression of the First Amendment rights of the poor and dispossessed. Okay, now yesterday, when I made the video, I neglected to let you know, inform you, that that woman did not have a sign or a container, either one. So, I have been encountered multiple times by people that didn't have a sign or a container. So, in my opinion, she did not identify herself. She's not identifying herself on any level that she is a panhandler. Okay, and that's another reason this is still, I'm just concerned about everyone out there being ambushed by people like this. I think had she had a sign or had something like that, I would have been less. I would have been, I guess, less fearful in the beginning, and the fact that she used that element of surprise is what's really bothering me about it. And I kind of wish now that I had, when we went into the store or while I was in the car, I wish I had called the police. Okay, because you could have a loved one, you may have a loved one that decides to go to, say, like Lowe's or Home Depot or Academy. Someone like this comes up to them and a violent crime is committed, and no one will ever know. I just want all of you guys out there to be aware and to protect your loved ones and inform them if you can. Here is the two different types of panhandling: passive and aggressive. Passive panhandling is soliciting without threat or menace, often without exchanging any words at all. Like this person here in the picture, here, this female is standing, in a busy intersection, holding a sign. She's non-threatening. She's got her bag, probably all her belongings there. I don't know. A lot of us just assume. We assume a lot when we see people like this. In my opinion, we do. But she is appearing very non-threatening here. And I would not be afraid of her. So passive versus aggressive, it says that just a cup or a hand is held out typically in the form of passive panhandling. Aggressive panhandling is soliciting coercively with actual or implied threats or menacing actions. If a panhandler uses physical force or extremely aggressive actions, the panhandling may constitute robbery. And it's funny that they say that, because even though you might give under duress like that, you may end up feeling robbed voluntarily gave the money. I don't care how much it is, whether it's 50 cents to $5. I have felt violated by these people, and that's because, to some degree, they are robbing you. They're just not displaying a weapon. You may feel like you've been robbed. I have felt that way. And there are U.S. cities here. It says, in recent years, an increasing number of U.S. cities have enacted ordinances restricting panhandling because of the influx of people living in public spaces. And they say for the most part, the cities are particularly concerned about the effects of panhandling on public safety, tourism, and small businesses, because they like to camp out in front of storefronts where they know you're going to go spend money. And it says so far that this trend has included measures making it illegal for persons to ask for money in public, as well as measures prohibiting activities such as sleeping, camping, eating, sitting, and begging in public spaces. The growing number of ordinances criminalizing panhandling over the years has spun off a corresponding growth in support of panhandlers' free speech rights under the First Amendment. So on in the article, it goes on to say that the court has held that solicitation for money is intertwined with free speech. And here's a picture with a man with his dog who clearly, to me, I have to say once again, I'm sure he's harmless, but I'm not willing to take the chance anymore. And I feel so bad for these people. I do. It says here that the fate of panhandling under the First Amendment remains less than clear. Some scholars contend that ordinances that regulate ordinary panhandling can be clearly distinguished from those that regulate menacing and intimidating behavior or aggressive panhandling. Others argue that the city laws regulating panhandling are unconstitutionally vague and overbroad, deprive panhandlers of their free speech rights, and raise serious due process concerns by targeting the homeless. In this photo, Jess sits with his dog Plumpkin an afternoon, Wednesday, December 15th, 1993, on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, California, where he is one of the street's regular panhandlers. You just don't ever know what happens to people that this condition, it's just a very tragic situation that in the United States of America that we have these people. And my heart really does bleed for them. It does. And I don't think there's any win-win situation. Um, anyway, I wanted to move on to something. So these panhandling laws are apparently really vague, and more than likely, if it's an aggressive panhandler, then maybe you could get some law enforcement to take action. That's kind of with the gist that I'm getting of it. I was also very curious to learn what is menacing, the definition of menacing, when they talk about passive versus aggressive panhandling. Because I felt that woman was menacing. I could see it in her eyes, and she got too close, and she did ambushes. So I looked up just the plain definition of menacing, and this is the meaning in New York, menacing in New York reputation. Just a basic definition is taking physical action to place another person in fear of death or imminent bodily injury. I did. I was in fear of death in the car. I was in fear that she was going to blow us both away. That was the first thing that came to my mind. It was. And I believe I put that in that video yesterday. So, yes, I would say that that woman was menacing and aggressive. And I look back now and I should have called the police. Because what if that was your mother or your father who was older, or a brother or a sister or one of your children? And they didn't know how to react, or something terrible had happened, and all that would have been remembered or proven is maybe some really grainy store video, and maybe the cameras really weren't working and they have to do the high resolution, and that still doesn't tell you who it is, and no one saw anything. And I know that a lot of this is coming from the fact that when I was attacked, no one saw anything. It can happen. And part of what's driving me in this is that, a lot of people don't want to hear about it. They just don't want to hear about it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. And they think that there's something wrong with you, that this happened to you. And no one, I can't tell you how many people have said, well, that sounds like a personal problem, or we don't like to think about things like that. I hear that. I've heard that a lot. Well, we don't talk about stuff like that. And we know that God is going to protect us, and no matter what, wherever we go, nothing bad is going to happen to us. It sounds like it's blame the victim, you know? And I know from working and knowing a lot of victims that they feel like they can't talk about it because they don't get a really educated or empathetic response from another individual. And it could be someone someone in their life that they're dealing with on a daily basis. So I went on to look up panhandling and crime, and this is out of Police Magazine. It says the panhandlers and their usual associated problems, such as poor personal hygiene and substance abuse, are the beginnings of decay within a community and the foothold for disorder and crime. And that's a sad thing, because you see a lot of that in California, and it's the beginnings of decay within a community. But it's gone outside of a community, and it's a national problem. It's spread. It's more than just a community. It's our state. It's everywhere now. So uh, I have a couple of other questions that I wanted to, things that I wanted to look up. And here was something about how to protect yourself. I hope that I've gotten to the right page. This is the one that has the 2 types of panhandling. Let me see. I may have to type it in again about how to protect yourself. It says that passive panhandling is a silent solicitation. This is out of Police Magazine. And that the panhandler generally lets his appearance speak for itself, and that aggressive involves some type of verbal interaction, usually accompanied by a physical action. And that can be approaching a pedestrian or knocking on a car window. Aggressive panhandling may include some type of menacing action with a direct or an implied threat. Passive panhandling plays on a citizen's sense of generosity, whereas aggressive plays more on a citizen's sense of fear. And that passive panhandling is a very low police priority, and it's tolerated generally for practical reasons, and there are usually more pressing issues within a community. The problem starts when an emboldened panhandler begins to actively pursue donations. Okay, this is only reinforcing what I know to be true and have experienced. The problems start when an emboldened panhandler begins to actively pursue donations. Intimidated pedestrians may begin to avoid an area plagued by aggressive panhandlers. And it says that the ones who are arrested usually receive very light sentences because judges don't view one incident of panhandling as a very serious offense. To make the most of department time, you have to build a strong file on an offender. So, this is why it really is important to be aware that the situation is something that we are obviously dealing with on a daily level now. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I had looked up how to protect yourself from panhandling, and I'm going to see if I can find it. Let me just type it in. Hang on one second. I had just read. I can't type. Okay, let's see. I don't know where it went, but try it again. I need a microphone, you guys, so hopefully next time. I didn't realize that my computer, the sound was so bad on it. Here we go. Okay. I felt like I wasn't so clear exactly on how to protect yourself, but it says avoid making eye contact and keep walking if you don't want to interact. So avoid the eye contact and keep moving. That's one method to deal with aggressive panhandlers is to pretend that they aren't there. And that can be hard to do if you're an empathetic person. That in there is a challenge, but it's something that I'm working on, and it's cutting the heartstrings. And I do want to make a video about that because we all get caught up, can potentially get caught up into that. Use your body language to signal that you can't talk to at least acknowledge the panhandler. So use your body language to signal you can't talk to at least acknowledge the panhandler. That's really vague. I maybe I'm not reading that correctly, but I would just walk past and just shake your head if you have, that's one that you could just shake your head and just keep going. Pull out your phone and pretend to have a conversation for an easy way out. I like that. So, that's something that you could do. Leave space between your car and the next car if you're stopping at a red light. Don't ever tailgate anybody, period. If you're at a light, okay, this is something else that I've learned having been carjacked by that guy. When he commandeered my vehicle, um, when he was following me, he tailgated me all the way home, and I was too in the panic mode to know how to get away from him. I actually jumped a curb and tried to get rid of him by going over this huge concrete barrier that was like a parking stop. But anyway, I was unsuccessful, and he trapped me into my parking space, so I couldn't get out. I could have leaned on the horn, but I know that now. So here's another page that's dealing with aggressive panhandlers, and hopefully it will take us to something that can help. I didn't realize there was another link. It says here how to deal with aggressive panhandlers. A panhandler, we already know the definition. Making an excuse, sorry, I don't have anything. Apologize and say you don't have any money for a basic excuse. If they begin to ask you, simply say, sorry, I don't have anything, and keep walking. If his goal is to get a couple of dollars, they're likely to leave you alone as soon as they know you aren't going to give them anything. If they ask you again and try to negotiate, simply state that you don't have anything. Here it suggests to apologize first to calm the panhandler, but maintain a firm tone. If they think they can intimidate you into giving up a couple of dollars, they may become more aggressive. Make eye contact when talking to a panhandler. This will let them know that you are not scared of them and will also make them feel respected. It says here's a tip. Panhandlers may become aggravated or frustrated if you ignore them or don't treat them like human beings. Say hello and smile when walking past a panhandler, even if you don't plan on giving them anything. If you're polite, there's no reason for a panhandler to become aggressive. Mm, I don't know about that one, guys. I have to think about that. I have to think about that, but these are suggestions. Okay. Homeless and hungry. Here's a lady here dressed really nicely, going to work, looks like. Explain that you are running late for something if the panhandler is stationary. Pick up your pace and walk a little faster as soon as you see a panhandler. If they address you and ask for money, just keep walking and say, "Sorry, I am running late for a meeting." The panhandler is not likely to chase you down if they don't think you have any time to stop and talk. If the panhandler does follow you, look for a local business or crowd where you can take refuge before calling the police. In most countries and states, it is illegal for a panhandler to follow someone, and you should call the police immediately. Well, to me, this is a scary thing because that means you would need a phone in your hand, and if you've got that smartphone, once again, good luck. And I had just read something about not using the smartphone. I'm hoping I can find it. Here it says to say you only have a credit card if they ask for money. If they ask for water or a small snack, you can consider getting it for them, but don't be compelled to do something that you're uncomfortable with, though. And that discomfort is a sign, is your intuition. That's your body, that's your gut, that's everything in your fiber of your being telling you that danger, danger, danger. That's your internal self-defense mechanism. Ignoring the panhandler, "Sorry, I'm late." Avoid making eye contact and keep walking if you don't want to interact. If you're being yelled at or followed, ignoring them may be the only thing making them angrier. Acknowledge them by apologizing and saying that you just can't help them out right now. Tip: this may make the panhandler angry if they're talking directly to you. Combine this method with a simple "Sorry, I'm late" to reduce the odds that they could lose their cool. You guys, we're in a lot of trouble. We're in a lot of trouble over here because they're not teaching anything at school, college, and or high school, and or grade school, and or elementary school, and or kindergarten, and just in general life for us how to protect ourselves. They're not doing it. Don't wait on them to do it. You've got to do it now because this is only going to get worse. And the fact that we're going to have to learn to interact with a whole different demographic of people. Now, I guess if you've lived out in California, you guys have a head up on all of this. And in Texas, you guys, I lived in Austin for a lot of years. Now, I'm over, I'm really just blown away by this homeless situation in Austin. It's just really dangerous. And here's, did I already use this one about using your body language? I possibly did. That you can't talk to or at least acknowledge the panhandler. Using body language to signal no is a good middle ground between acknowledging and ignoring the panhandler. And it's enough of a communication to prevent them from feeling like you think they're not even there, but it's not really a meaningful engagement or that is not meaningful engagement or invitation for conversation. Here it is again, pulling out the phone. I think I read all of these. Ignoring the panhandler. If the panhandler is hanging out near a red light, slow down as you approach the intersection and leave 15 to 20 feet between you and the car in front of you. That's a lot of distance. But it's important to do that because, like I said in that picture of that one woman and her bag, I said I wouldn't be afraid of her. However, I gave somebody like that a ride one time, a female. I was a lot younger when I did that, and she was leading me straight to the path of a carjacker. And luckily, she got out of my car and I drove off, and she led me to some man standing at the edge of a corner because I felt sorry for her. Anyway, and I'm coming on and telling you these things because I know a lot of other women that have been through this, and that's fine. Our society is not geared on protecting itself. It's just not. So here you go. You leave the distance of 15 to 20 feet between you and the car in front of you. And when the panhandler starts walking through the street, wait for them to get past the car in front of you and then pull up past them. So you're going to wait for them to get past the car in front of you, and then you can pull it past them because there's probably going to be, that's less likely that they can get into your vehicle, put a gun to your head, or commandeer your vehicle. Once someone commandeers your vehicle, you're in a world of, starts with an S and ends with a T. Okay? Just saying. The odds are good that the panhandler won't turn around to approach you. You can pretend to be messing with their radio knob before you move up. This will make it seem like you aren't passing the panhandler on purpose. So what I'm gathering is that you've got to at least acknowledge these people. We're going to be forced to acknowledge these people. We are being forced to acknowledge them. We're going to have to some degree. We have to admit part of this is just acceptance and admitting. The sooner we can admit that our economy is in free fall and that it's an internal implosion and we're in terrible decay, right? We're in terrible decay. All you have to do is turn on any television program and it's just pure filth. It's just all materialism. Everybody's going every way the wind blows. It's just terrible decay. It's the whole thing has just fallen apart. So, soliciting help and avoiding confrontation. I really didn't want this video to go that long, but I'm just going to continue. Take the least disrespectful route whenever possible. Begging for money can be for strangers can be a humiliating experience. If you add to their sense of helplessness by being rude or disrespectful, you risk initiating a conflict. If you add to a panhandler's sense of helplessness by being rude or disrespectful, you risk a conflict. It says if one approaches you and politely asks for change, you may aggravate them by jumping right to ignoring them or calling the police. So we have to take, you have to take their feelings into consideration. We do. Are we ready to do that? I mean, I've done it all my life. And up to a point, I can say that I've never had anyone target a vehicle like they did the other day. Except, from my own personal experience and anyway, from being carjacked. Um, you know, I don't know if it's a Southern thing, but we're just taught to be so polite and compliant and so nice. Southern women especially, y'all, we're just taught to be nice, don't start a conflict, give people what they want. The last thing a lot of us were ever taught was how to protect ourselves. Maybe not all Southern women are like that. A lot of them, though, a lot of us are. We're like that. And we got to learn not to be that way, y'all. Apparently, here's one here. This lady's calling 911 and freaking him out. He got really angry. Uh, if he won't leave you alone, and it says it's illegal in almost every country and state, contact emergency services and request police assistance. Okay, this requires you getting on the phone. It says here that if you're ever threatened, followed, or yelled, don't hesitate to call the police. Well, you've got to get to safety first. Before you get on the phone, you need to be in some place in a building. You've got to be away from the threat. There's no way you're going to be able to call on that smartphone and get the help you need while he's following you. You're running for your life here. Or you have some personal protection like pepper spray. If you put your hand out and say stop, that's your personal space, and you tell him to stop right there. And he comes any further, uh, pepper spray, that that's going to come out. I'm not letting anybody do that to me. I mean, any longer, any longer. This is a real threat, you guys. This is what we're looking at. Look at this picture. So here, you can inform the business owner. You can placate them by offering them out later if you don't want to really say no. Now, that poses a risk. It says here that they might remember you. And if you run into them again, you may cause a conflict if you don't give them anything. Well, I wanted to find the video or the article that was talking about not using the cell phone. Let me see. Here, I think this is it here. Hang on, y'all. I'm sorry if my audio is bad. Here we go. Here you go. I found it. How to avoid a panhandler confrontation. I'm prefacing that or emphasizing confrontation. While walking, stay in a state of situational awareness. You may see them ahead and have the opportunity to choose another route of avoidance. Do not, in all caps, have your face in a smartphone while walking the streets. God, I see everybody doing that. If the panhandler asks you anything, do not stop. If you're already walking, keep moving, say nothing. Do not engage. It does you no good whatsoever to say anything at all. It may only inspire more dialogue and possible confrontation. If they swear back at you, who cares? See, this is a lot less sympathetic than that other advice or other, methods of panhandler confrontation, of dealing with them. This one's a lot more firm to me. And if the panhandler or anyone at all asks you what time it is, don't look at your cell phone or watch to check. Instead, move along or give him your best guess. This is a distraction, by the way. And yes, I have a white van story. I just tempted to spill the beans on a lot of these things that I've been through. The instinct is difficult to break, but it's very important if the person is a would-be criminal looking to sucker punch you when you look away. For example, or to grab and run. If an apparent panhandler or anyone at all walks up to you and asks for directions, do not look away and point somewhere. This is for another video. Instead, simply walk the person through it. Talk the person through it. I mention this because it's a potential tactic used by criminals to get you to look away for a moment, then grab your wallet, purse, or worse. And it mentions not to look at them. You guys, I'm going to end it here. I've gone to 35 minutes, and I know this is a long video. I just don't know how to make short videos right now. I'm working on it. Hopefully I can attempt to do a shorter video. Part of the problem is there's no really quick way to teach people, to teach us to learn. We have an amazing amount to learn, in my opinion. Maybe some of you out there are already skilled and you've already learned everything you need to know, and you have no problems with people and no confrontations, and you never have. But I'm sorry, there's a lot of us out there who don't, or who haven't ever learned how to protect themselves or learned how to deal with people. And you can't get away from it. We can't get away from it. It's just going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. But how we react and choose to handle it is going to be key. And by all means, keep in contact with the Lord. Pray for His protection before you leave the house. And ask yourself, am I prepared to protect my life? Am I prepared to defend my life and the lives of others that may be in the way? But am I prepared to defend my life? God bless you all. I love you guys. I really do. Whoever's watching, I'm thinking about you. I'm just hoping to help. I just want to help. I want you to learn to protect yourself, because like I said before, unfortunately, it hasn't been something that really anybody's had to deal with unless you've been victimized, and by then it's too late, but then you still get the opportunity to learn. Okay, guys, later.